Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and today's coffee chat is going to be about the artist way. In the Q&A that I did where I asked people to ask me what to do videos about, someone asked about the artist way, what I thought about the artist way, and I did it a couple of different times. Actually, I did it I think 3 times. One of the times I didn't get through it all the way. So what the artist way is, it is a 12-week self-guided course on discovering and recovering your creative self by Julia Cameron. Each week you have assignments, you do reading and you do stuff. Assignments for you to read stuff, and then you have assignments for you to actually do stuff, like write. The two main tools are the morning pages and the artist dates. So the morning pages are one of the really big takeaways from the artist way for me. Artist dates I still do, but and they are beneficial. But the morning pages are essentially 750 handwritten words. They're stream of consciousness. She suggests that you do them in the morning. Now, there are a lot of people I know that are not really morning people. I find that if I get up with Mr. Rockstar, my morning pages don't usually get done because I'm getting up early in the morning with him. We're having coffee together. I'm getting dressed, and the only thing I do that's part of my normal morning routine are my stretches when I get up with him. So I do them after, like, he leaves to go to work. I sit down with my cup of coffee and I start doing my morning pages. By then it's not as much stream of consciousness, but what I've found is that if I listen to meditative music while I do my morning pages, and before I start them, even if I don't do them first thing upon waking, is if I clear my mind through some type of meditative music, what works for me may not work for you, and I sort of take a deep breath and clear my mind, and then I can write stream of consciousness. Now, for some people that may not work. It works for me because I've been doing the morning pages for a while, and I made an extreme effort in the beginning, on and off. I kept trying really hard to do them first thing upon waking. It didn't work very well in the beginning. I'm not a morning person, but I think it really just depends on you. I think it's more about being less inhibited when you write your morning pages, no matter what time of day it is. It's about being stream of consciousness when you write down your morning pages, so you're not so super conscious about what you're writing. It's not a regular journal activity. It's a clear out the gunk kind of thing. And what you find when you do morning pages, when you're clearing out the junk, it's kind of like a brain dump, is that a lot of the things that you would find to be not okay to talk about, like when you're angry or you want to complain, or when you're frustrated. I've written, I don't know what to write, quite a few times. I'll write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write. And then after a while, words will come and I'll just write them. I've also written things like, I hate doing laundry. I have written about how I can't find the words. I've written about how I don't know if I have anything left. I don't know if this is something that is a waste of my time. And I go back when I write those self-doubts down, when I write that anger down, when I write the complaints down, and I get them out of my head, the rest of my day is much more productive. I'm not thinking about all those negative things because I let go of them and I put them on that page. Now, if you go back and you read your morning pages and you make your morning pages like a journal, it's going to make it harder. The morning pages are supposed to be uninhibited. They're supposed to be stream of consciousness. They're supposed to be like a brain dump for you to get all the gunk out of your head so that you can have productive days, so that you can have creative days, so that you can feel more confident and not like an imposter, you know, when you're creating your art, no matter what kind of art it is you're creating, because the artist way isn't necessarily for artists with a capital A. It can be for a musician, a singer, a songwriter, a writer, any number of things. It can be for anybody who is a creative person, and it can be for people who aren't even sure that they are creative. There are a lot of people who've actually read the Artist Way and found that their creativeness has lied dormant, and by doing something like the Artist Way, they become creative again. They find their creativity again. So one of the other big tools, she calls them the big takeaways, are artist dates. Artist dates are one time per week you go out on a date with yourself. And you go out on the date with your creative self, with your artistic child, she says. It's taking time for the artist within, and you try to do something that you don't normally do in your regular routine. It's time to nurture your artistic or creative self. So you try to get outside of your normal routine. So if you were a person who normally goes to Starbucks, or you normally just grab a coffee and you don't sit down and read, or you don't sit down and write, or you don't sit down and draw, that may be out of your normal routine. For me, that's how I started, because normally I would go to Starbucks, I would get a cup of coffee, and I would go. Usually I got it to go. So instead of getting it to go, I would sit down with a book or with a journal or with my laptop, and I would write. I started doing this for artist dates for like the writer within. After a while, it became where I would do any number of things. As long as there weren't a lot of people around me, I could draw and journal and stuff like that. And it was very helpful because it got me out of, one, my normal routine. Two, it got me out of my comfort zone. And three, I'm still doing them. I'm not participating in the Artist Way anymore, like as far as like a group of people doing it or me doing it by myself. The first time I did it, I did the whole thing on YouTube, and there were a couple of weeks where I went through, 1 week took me, one assignment for the week, I should say 1 week, took me a couple of weeks to accomplish. And that's okay, it's self-guided. So some people actually choose to do it in 12 months instead of 12 weeks. They do 1 week assignment per month, and that way it takes them a year. And if you are a person who has limited time, that would be great. But the artist dates help a lot. I still do them. I don't do them every week, but I try to do them at least every other week. I try really hard to get them done every week. But sometimes for me, an artist date may just be taking a walk in a different area, getting outside. An artist date is anything that nurtures your creative soul. So in the margins are a number of quotes. I'm going to read you a few of my favorite quotes, just a couple, because there are a ton in the margins. Ralph Waldo Emerson: "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." May Sarton. I have a book of her collected poetry. I have some of Emerson's too. "It always comes back to the same necessity. Go deep enough and there is a bedrock of truth, however hard." Edward Hopper. "No amount of skillful invention can replace the essential element of imagination." Agnes DeMille. "No trumpets sound when the important decisions of our life are made. Destiny is made known silently." Claudia Black. "Surround yourself with people who respect and treat you well." Another one by Claudia Black. "Trust in yourself. Your perceptions are often far more accurate than you are willing to believe." Leo Tolstoy. "True life is lived when tiny changes occur." W.H. Auden. "The center that I cannot find is known to my unconscious mind." Do I recommend the Artist Way? I do. However, if you're going to do the Artist Way, for me, the very first time I did the Artist Way, or maybe the other time I did it, the one where I didn't finish it, I believe, I started it not realizing that the 12 weeks was going to lead me into NaNoWriMo. I was going to be trying to do Artist Way assignments during NaNoWriMo. I had a really hard time doing that, and the Artist Way ended up being put to the side because NaNoWriMo was more of a priority to me, and I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done was done this ahead of time so that by the time I finished the Artist Way and then I was doing NaNoWriMo, I could have taken the things I learned from the Artist Way and used them to help me through NaNoWriMo, like artist dates and morning pages. There is a website, the 750 words website, that if you don't want to write by hand, you can write on the computer in Evernote, wherever you want, Word document, composition notebooks, a journal, anything that you want to use to write morning pages you can use. But technically, I find, unless you have some kind of disability that prevents you from writing by hand, it's better to write them by hand. There's something about the connection between the physical act of writing them out and your mind that is really necessary to help, I think. And that's what she says as well in the book. She has a workbook, she has a journal, she has several other books that are self-guided courses. I tried a couple of different ones. Finding Water was pretty good. There were a couple of other ones. I couldn't do one of them. I just couldn't get through it. It was just too redundant of a lot of what she said in here. So instead of actually doing, I just went back through and did a lot of the things that she says to do in here. I added walking to my routine as well, and that was from Finding Water. I can't think of the one that she has that I couldn't. The Act of Perseverance is, I think, the one I couldn't really, which is ironic because it's the Act of Perseverance. I'm one of the most persevering people. But Finding Water was added in walking to the mix of the artist date and the morning pages, which I found really helpful. I am reading one of her books now. The book I am reading now, because I will never think of it off the top of my head, The Right to Write is the one I couldn't do. And the Writing Diet, Write Yourself Right Size, is actually one I'm enjoying. I did like Finding Water, but I found that for me it worked best if I did Finding Water in a year program instead of the 12 weeks. And a little bit of what was written in Finding Water was sort of a lot of the same of this, but I am really enjoying this one. The Right to Write, I just couldn't get through. I think a lot of the stuff in there is great for writing prompts, but I couldn't read it start to finish. I still haven't finished that book. However, The Artist Date is probably one, the Artist Way is probably a book that I will revisit every few years, like every 3 or 5 years. I will probably go through and do it. There are times when I may do it when it takes me the year and I do one assignment every month instead of the 12 weeks. I'll do 12 months. I think because they're self-guided course, sometimes you have to take them in whatever way works for you. Do I recommend them? I highly recommend The Artist Way. I think some of her books, for some people, are a little bit flighty because there is a spiritual element to it. For some people, they really enjoy that spiritual element, and for other people, they find it kind of new agey, maybe, sort of. I think if she says you can use the word God, the word universe, you can take it completely out of the vocabulary in the book. You don't have to, you just skip over that word when you're reading it. There are some people who have a problem with it being so spiritually inclined, but it says on it, a spiritual path to higher creativity. So it's going to have some kind of spirituality in there. So before you even open the book, I found that for me, I just did what felt right to me, and that worked. So I do highly recommend it. I do not think that you need anything other than the book if you want to do it. I think the other things help you, but I don't find them absolutely necessary. I find the book to be necessary. Thank you for watching. Next week's coffee chat is going to be about writing, and I think I'm going to do it on Wednesday, the 4th of October. So Monday's coffee chat will be a regular coffee chat about a different creative topic that has to do with the Q&A. But as far as the writing coffee chat goes, I'm going to use that for a writing Wednesday coffee chat. So you'll actually get 2 coffee chats next week. Thanks for watching. You'll have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.